Welcome to Not So New News, where we discover what is hidden in the newspapers from 100 years ago. Today's article comes from the town of Whitesburg and appeared in Letcher County's oldest newspaper, the Mountain Eagle. Volume 2, number 18, dated December 31st, 1908. This reading is from the writings done in 1908. These views are from that time period and do not necessarily reflect the modern views of Kentucky Tennessee living nor its narrator. However, we feel that all historical documents must be preserved for the future and strive not to change one word of the reading. However, if we feel that the readings are too controversial in political or religious standing, we will either silently put the article up for viewing or will direct everyone to where it can be found online. Thank you for your understanding. The Horrors of Millinery. Lady from the country had her own ideas as to the styles of head coverings. The girl had to turn sideways in order to get into the door with her new hat. Quote, "It is pretty huge," unquote, she acknowledged. Quote, "I am being made to realize it. I was coming here on the car and I sat opposite a little old woman from the country. She was with her daughter. The little old woman had on the tiniest bonnet you ever saw. It was trimmed with violets, brown violets, mind you, and had strings tied under the chin. 1,000 years old that bonnet was, and her daughter's bonnet wasn't much younger, but I wish you could have seen them look at this hat. They stared at it as if it were a sideshow all by itself. Then the little old woman turned to her daughter and sighed, and said in a tense, stern tone of voice, quote, 'Terrible, terrible,' unquote." The main point. The Englishman and the American were talking honestly among men. Quote, "Speaking about honest men," unquote, said the American proudly, quote, "Our George Washington was the most honest man the world has ever known. Why, he took a hack at a cherry tree and then told his father about it," unquote. The Englishman pondered in silence for a long time, and finally he drawled, quote, "Maybe deuce clever in George telling his father about taking the hack, but tell me this," unquote. Quote, "What is it?" unquote. Quote, "Did he pay the driver?" unquote. A lesson in golf. 1. You put the ball here. 2. And give it a swipe like this. And 3. Oh, you've killed poor Fido. Good in the motorboat. Introduction of motorboats into the fishing industry is held to be responsible for the steady increase in that industry in Norway. These boats make it possible for the fishermen to make a much larger catch and also furnish better protection in rough weather and are more safe than the old boats driven by sails. Might be advisable. Quote, "I am a poor man," unquote. Quote, "When we are married, I can learn to cook," unquote. Quote, "Hadn't you, better begin practice," unquote, suggested the thrifty suitor. Quote, "While your father is yet supplying the raw material, so to speak," unquote. Kansas City Journal. Death was on his heels. Jesse P. Morris of Skippers, Virginia, had a close call in the spring of 1906. He says, quote, "An attack of pneumonia left me so weak that with such fearful cough that my friends declared consumption had me and death was on my heels. Then I was persuaded to try Dr. King's new discovery. It helped me immediately, and after taking 2½ bottles, I was a well man again. I found that new discovery is the best remedy for coughs and lung disease in all the world," unquote. Sold under guarantee at Whitesburg drugstore, 50 cents and $1. Trial bottle free. Sheriff's Sale. By virtue of taxes due the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Letcher County by Mary J. Here for year 1908, I will on Monday, January 4th, 1909, it being the first day of January, term of Letcher County Court, exposed to the public sale at the courthouse door in Whitesburg, Kentucky, the following described property, or so much thereof as will satisfy taxes, interest, and costs, to wit: one certain tract or parcel of land lying in Letcher County, Kentucky, on Millstone Creek, a tributary of the North Fork of Kentucky River, and being the same conveyed to W. J. Hoare by David J. Hoare, George W. Morgan, and Catherine Morgan, by deed dated January 29th, 1889, and reference is made to said deed for full description. Said property recorded in Deed Book J, page 451, Letcher County Court Clerk's Office. Tax $97.31. INT, period, 48 cents. Cost $1.50. Penalty $5.83. A total of $105.12. Given under my hand this December 7th, 1908. C.C. Crawford, SLC. A healthy family. Quote, our whole family has enjoyed good health since we began using Dr. King's New Life pills 3 years ago, unquote, says L.A. Bartlett of Rural Route 1, Guilford, Maine. They cleanse and tone the system in a gentle way that does you good. 25 cents at Whitesburg Drugstore. This concludes today's reading of the December 31st, 1908 Mountain Eagle. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for your continued support as we bring to you the history of the Appalachian Mountains.